So hey guys, welcome back to Matthew's Ballistics. Tonight I am working on a brand new project. Has to do with 338 Lapua, and I'm still working on figuring out the problem with the US 869 powder. I'm determined to get that powder to work, um, at least for me. Now, what I'm working on tonight is I got an opportunity from Alco Bullets to test some of their new bullets coming out. And they sent me some samples of these. And these are a 250 grain rebated boat tail ultra low drag bullet. We can compare that to the normal bullet that I would use. What I'm used to using is this Hornady 285 grain ELD match. You can see that the nose is a little different, the way it tapers and everything, and you can tell that this is much sharper, but the tip materials are completely different. The Hornady is a type of polymer that handles heat really well. One of their proprietary things. The tip on the Alco bullet is machined from, I believe, steel. I have tested it is magnetic. So, which in rifle ammunition is not illegal to use. Like, you can go any day of the week and buy M855 or, green tip ammunition, which has a steel penetrator core in it. Or you can buy like any 50 BMG FMJs, any of those. If they're military FMJs, they are all steel core. It actually doesn't even have lead in it. It's a steel core wrapped in a copper jacket so it doesn't destroy the rifling. So, and they're completely legal to own and shoot. You just not very many gun ranges will allow you to shoot them, which is one of the reasons why I got rid of mine. But anyways, this is a 250 grain ultra low drag long range bullet. The reason why I think that they went, and I don't have all the specifics on this bullet. I don't have all the information, but my theory is the reason why they went with the steel tip was that steel is lighter, less dense than lead is, so it is going to help to shift the center of gravity a little bit back in the bullet, but not as far back as if they had machined it from aluminum, or versus having like an open tip match design, which is basically what that all that does is the tip design, the way they are making them, whether it's an open tip match or one that's tipped and it's made from a different material than either the lead jacket or sorry, the copper jacket or the lead core, is the goal is to shift the center of gravity further back in the bullet, which helps in stabilization. So with the ELDMs, they use a polymer tip, which is actually, it's the inside of the tip of the bullet's actually hollow, and that polymer tip fits inside there. In say Burger's bullets, they're hybrid OTM open tip match bullets, so it's technically a hollow point, and the nose of the bullet's actually hollow, and that reduces the weight and the mass in the front of the bullet, and so the center of gravity is pushed back. So these are all just different ways of changing the center of gravity for the bullet, and with the goal being to help better stabilize the bullet. Using these steel tips like Alco did on these is not something very common to find. As far as I know, they may be the only ones doing this. So, and I'm not saying that it hasn't been tested in the past before by other companies, but it seems that Alco Bullets are really the only ones that are continually doing that type of design work. So, With that being said, I've got a few actually loaded up here that I've started. Um, and I'm starting kind of low for in powder charge for a 250 grain bullet with these because I really want to see how it reacts to the powder uh, at really low charges, and then moving on up into higher charges. So we're starting out at 100 grains of powder, and I'm going to go up a grain and a half each time, which I know is a big jump, but it's really 1.5% in powder weight. So, uh, going from 100 to 101.5 in the next one. Um, I did some messing around to figure out what I was going to use for a seating depth on these, and the like I said, the closest bullet that I could find to these was the Burger open tip match. Of course, it's not a rebated boat tail; it's just a open tip match with a regular hull or a regular boat tail on it. So that bullet had an OAL of 1.635. The Alco Bullet has an OAL of 1.664. So the Burger had, in their loading, they used a 3.681 overall length for the cartridge, but the bullet's a little bit shorter. So I took the difference in the bullet length, which is 0.029, and then I added it to the OAL of the Burger, and I come up with added it to the COAL, the cartridge overall length of the Burger, added it to the 3.681, and I come up with a 3.710 COAL to start with on the Alco Bullet. The difference in how much bullets actually seated or sitting above the casing is easy to find out. I can just take the cartridge overall length and subtract the trimmed case length from that. And so with the Burger on their load data, they had 0.967 inches above or outside of the case mouth of bullet. And then on mine with the 3.710 COAL, we had 0.996 inches sticking out of the case. So that's how much bullet is sticking out. Now, in the Savage Elite Precision 110 that I'm running, the maximum length that I can run in the magazine is 3.80 inches. I want to say 3.83, or somewhere around in there. And I typically run the 285 ELDs at a 3.775. So running these at 3.710 perfectly fine. They're going to feed fine. They're not going to drag on the inside of the magazine, where I have had a few of the ELDs start dragging about 3.775 inches. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Getting to test these. First time I'm testing them, and as far as I know, it's the first time they're being tested. It's a completely new bullet that Alco has designed and built. They've been really helpful over the past year, especially with my long range 484 project, which in a couple weeks, I'm actually gonna hopefully get to go stretch that thing out, and we're gonna try to see 500 yards with it, and we will hopefully see maybe a little further with it and see what it'll really do. Want to getting a new scope set up for it. Getting away from that Simmons, even though that Simmons sufficed great, it would run out of adjustment at about 375 yards, I think. So I'm gonna go with a Riton Conquer 1 or 1 Conquer, their first focal plane version, which has got a little bit more adjustment in it, a little bit more zoom. It's a 60-24 by 50 scope in first focal plane. um, and hopefully get that mounted on there. And the reason why I'm going with it is I had to go with a 1-inch scope, based on the tally rings that I bought. They only either come in 1-inch diameter or 30 millimeter diameter, and since I didn't have a 30 millimeter scope at the time, I went with the 1-inch rings, and now I'm changing to a new scope, and I don't want to have to buy new rings again, so I went with another 1-inch main tube on my scope. And in my research, I didn't really find any 30 millimeter scopes that I thought were going to give me that much of an advantage to pay the extra money for them, so I just stuck with the 1-inch tube. And hopefully, maybe in the future, I will be able to get some custom rings made to where they'll mount on that one piece mount on the Browning, and I'll be able to get a 34 millimeter tube, which, if I'm going to spend the money to get a good 30 millimeter tube, I'm going to go ahead and spend the money, and I'd prefer to get a 34. So, with that being said, new bullets from Alco. Of course, I'm going to keep trying to mess with the seating depth on the Hornadies at 104 grains of powder, because that's where I really like the velocity, but the grouping was terrible. But I was seating them super far out, and I did some more research, and I found that companies that, or people that were loading these bullets with US 869 powder, they were using a deeper seating depth. So going from 3.775 down to 3.600 as a starting point, and I'm going to go up a 1/100th of an inch every time until I figure out, either it's going to work or it's not going to work. But I will figure it out, and I will share the data with you guys. I apologize for the amount of time it's taken me to get anything done. It's just I've been busy, and I've got a lot going on because I've still got some other Alco Bullets, some other rebated boat tails that I'm going to be messing with too. And these are some little guys, as you can tell. Yeah, this is a 77 grain rebated boat tail ULD 224 diameter bullet, to be loaded in a 5.56 or 223. The G1BC on this is a whopping 512.512 on a 223 bullet. I mean, that's just incredible, really. I haven't gotten to test them or shoot them, but that's a project in its own that I've got to do. Also, I've got a 62 grain version, which from what we've talked about, me and Bill at Alco, is that the 62 grain seems to get a little bit better reviews from the customers he's had use them. So hopefully, I'd like to see the 77 grain one work, but of course, in my 5.56 bolt action rifle, it is, I believe it's a 1 8 twist, and it's a 16.5 inch barrel, or 16.38 inch barrel, a little Ruger American Ranch. Of course, I'm running an Arkin 34 millimeter main tube scope on it, so I plan on using it for like a short range but very high precision setup. So, with the capability of still being able to shoot 400, 500, 600 yards or so with it, but really more or less like really short range but really precise shots is what I want to be able to use it for. I also got some 50 grain VMAX for 5.56 that I need to test and do some loading with. And I'm also running really low on 9mm rounds, so I really need to get back into loading some pistol rounds, some 9mm. Yeah, so got a lot going on, a lot coming up, but this weekend we're going to take the 338 Lapua out. I got a few rounds to test. If I get a chance to finish processing some more 338 Lapua and getting it ready, I will maybe bring a few more rounds with me. But for now, that's going to be it. We'll see you guys next time in the next video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below.